So, if I ever had an opportunity to make a movie or remake a movie, I think the movie that I would remake would be the Morbius movie. And the reason why I would remake the Morbius movie is because there was a lot of wasted potential. There was a lot of ways that they could have told that story. I mean, Marvel made a vow that they would not do a superhero or a villain that is associated with the supernatural. Well, they decided to break that rule back in 2022. So they decided to break that rule. Once they broke that rule, I guess it didn't work. Funny part was they've already announced that Sony is trying to do a Blade movie. New age, so bring back an old hero that may be new to the people in this new age, to fans of new age. Back in 97, 98, Marvel released a movie called Blade starring Wesley Snipes. So Morbius could have introduced Blade into the series like Spider-Man and Black Panther were introduced in Captain America Civil War. Prior to that, both Hawkeye and Black Widow were introduced. Black Widow starring who was portrayed as Scarlett Johansson, so was brought to life by Scarlett Johansson when she did her appearance in Iron Man 2. And there you see Nick Fury, because Nick Fury was introduced in the post-credit sequence of the first Iron Man movie, which was released back in 2008. So she was brought into it. She was introduced in Iron Man 2. In Thor, Clint Burton, who's Hawkeye, he was introduced as Thor during the fight sequence where Thor tries to break into the SHIELD facility so he can get his hammer back. Hawkeye is in his perch saying, "Hey, give me the word, I'm starting to root for this guy, give me the word to shoot him." He was introduced there. Black Panther was introduced in Civil War and Captain America Civil War because that was his origin story. Technically, his legacy was already passed to him, but that was his taking on the mantle because his father, who was the previous Black Panther, had been killed in a attack, which Bucky was wrongfully framed for. And also introduced to the MCU was Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, when Tony Stark recruits Peter Parker to his side, to the Team Iron Man. So there was a way for for Morbius to introduce Blade. Why introduce Blade? Because his main villain, Frost, who was the main villain in the 1998 Blade movie, starring Wesley Snipes. So why bring him that way? Well, remember how in Avengers Infinity Wars, how did Doctor Strange get introduced to that war? How did Guardians of the Galaxy get in the war? As far as we know, Gamora wanted nothing to do with Thanos. How did Thor get introduced to the Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, after the events of the third movie, Thanos found the Tesseract, so he went to collect that Infinity Stone, thus killing Loki and banishing Thor. Thor was found by the Guardians of the Galaxy because they were answering a distress call. That's how they got recruited. Thor had told him what he was trying to do, and Gamora, seeing that, okay, we need to stop Thanos, because she wouldn't be caught dead. She wouldn't be going after the guy in the first place. She wanted nothing to do with him, And then how did Doctor Strange get involved? Well, Bruce Banner, who's also the Hulk, got banished due to Heimdall's quick thinking before he died to the Sanctum, which resides in New York, and Doctor Strange was there. Bruce tells him about what's going on, And because Doctor Strange has the time stone in his amulet, you know, uh, meaning Thor was coming there because he knows that he has the time stone. So that's how they got brought into it. So how would Blade be brought into Morbius if they went down that route? Well, Morbius is known as the living vampire, and in the movie he became what he was through science, through genetics. Why? Because he decided to take the specific breed of vampire bats from South America and try to figure out a cure for his rare blood disease. So, with the help of his friend Milo, played by Matt Smith, they go to conduct the experiment and something goes very, very wrong. Well, first things first, I wouldn't change the cast. Jared Leto did awesome, Matt Smith did awesome too, but I wouldn't make Matt Smith's character Milo the main villain. No, I would bring Frost into it. Why would I bring Frost in it? Well, how would I bring him in? First off, Frost gets a whiff of Marius. He gets a whiff of how he became a vampire and thinks, this could work. A living vampire. He's able to go into the sun. Well, vampires don't like the sun because they burn. They are undead. They are unholy, They do not have a soul, if you're going with mythology and religion and stuff like that. So that's what I would do. He gets a whiff of Morbius. He makes him an offer. Morbius refuses that offer. Now, a bunch of killings happen and Blade goes into the city to try to kill these vampires before the city is taken over. Why? Because that's what Frost wanted. He wanted to be the vampire god, So I would take some inspiration from the Blade movie because in that movie, he wanted to be a vampire god. He wanted to kill the old families so he could have that power because he believed if he had that power, he could take over everything and then the humans would be no more. So put that idea, that's his motive to that. Who would I have play as Frost? Well, Sam Reed. Why Sam Reed? Have you looked at his performance as Lestat de Loncourt from Interview with a Vampire? Yeah, I'd bring him in. I would bring this dude in. He's handsome, knows how to bring that performance, and is very good at making it seem like you kind of want to root for him. I mean, come on. I was rooting for Loki and Thor. I was rooting for Loki. He was a handsome villain. I'm not gonna lie. No, Tom Hiddleston did a great job as Loki. Yes, I did root for him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say here lie. But yes, I would bring Sam Reed in here. And then, okay, well, I'm sure you guys are asking, well, how would you bring Matt Smith? Matt Smith was the main villain. I would not make him the main villain. But I would have Frost, not wanting to be a fool, not liking how he is not getting what he wants, because he always gets what he wants. That's what Frost wants. He would bring Milo into it. But he wouldn't turn Milo. He'll give Milo the taste. Because Milo has the same genetic disorder as Morbius, as Michael. That's why they got along together. Not only did they grow up together, but they have the same, condition. So Milo gets an offer from Frost, have a taste of it. He doesn't actually he doesn't steal the compound that Michael made, because that's the same because in Morbius, Milo steals the compound and then becomes that. So Frost does a whole bunch of killings. Michael gets framed for it, and it becomes a huge thing. Blade and Morbius end up going at it because Blade thinks that Morbius is the one in doing these killings and is bringing all these vampires in, when it's not. He's a vampire of science, of genetics, not a natural vampire. So, bring them in right, left and right, and you find out Frost. Frost is the main villain. Frost is the guy who is the one that's starting all this, and of course they work together and, things like that. If I was given the chance to remake this movie, I would go that route. Why? Because, like I said, there was so many different ways they could have told the story. Another way they could have done it is they could have explored more of the vampire mythology. Not only that, they could have more explored of how Morbius, because if you read the comic books, Morbius isn't, how can I say, a vampire is going to go nuts. A vampire is going to be vicious. A vampire is not going to care. So it would have been cool to have Morbius sort of fight, because you do see him in the movie fight for his hunger, I need to not, it would have been cool about humanity and monstrosity going at it, the beast and the human, the good and the bad, the right and wrong. It would have been more if you centered around that, his battle. Kind of like what Gary Shore's Dracula Untold, starring Luke Evans. You saw how hard, Dracula was trying not to break that deal with the Master Vampire. The Master Vampire gave him 3 days to save his people. If he can last 3 days not drinking one drop of human blood, he would be free of that curse. But it didn't work out like that. No sacrifice, no victory kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure that is the route that I would have taken if I was ever given that chance. Would I ever be given that chance to remake Morbius? No. I don't see that in the cards. I don't see that happening. In reality, that's not going to happen. Because I don't have any association with any film production companies. I don't have millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to make a movie like that. I am not a director. So say I did go to Sony and pitch them that idea, they would probably say, "Get out of here, kid. What are you talking about? Get out of here. It was failed. Get out." So I don't know. Stranger things have happened, but I'm not gonna hold my breath for it because reality is it's not gonna happen. But if it were hypothetically to happen, or in another universe it was to happen, that's the route I would go with. I would go that route that I said I would do. Bring Frost in, bring Blade in. That would have been an excellent way to introduce Blade into the MCU. It would have been a great way to do so. So that's what I would do. It would be a lot more better, a lot more in-depth story, a lot more, because I feel like they could have showed more of Morbius' powers. He was a living vampire to show how different, a living vampire is compared to an undead vampire. One is of science, the other one is of actual supernatural. So it would have been cool to see these two go at it. See the strengths of one that is born of science, and see the strengths of one that is born of supernatural, and see, how the strengths and weaknesses go together, how, one would have advantage over the other. Well, one is of science, so of course he's going to have more an advantage on the scientific way. One is of the supernatural, so sometimes supernatural will trump science, because the supernatural is when rationality, logical religion, and science cannot explain it. The supernatural is the unexplainable. Nothing can explain it because it is unexplainable. That's what the supernatural is, No matter how hard you try to explain it, it can't be explained because it's unexplained. You can only go by what you know, and what you know and what you hear and what you see is what is written down from other people. Yet, at the end of the day, it is still unknown. It is still unexplained. So yeah, that's what I would go as. That's the route that I would go. But yes, out of all honesty, it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. I know a lot of people say never, but let's get real here. Like I said, I have no association with any production companies. I don't know someone who knows someone who knows someone. It's not gonna happen. There's a saying. It's not about who you know. It's not about what you got or what you know. It's about who you know and what they got. But I don't know anyone, and I don't know what they got. So yeah. But yeah, so if given the chance to remake a movie, it would be the Morbius movie, only because there were so many different routes they could have done and a lot of wasted potential. So I would give it a redemption, and that's how I would go about it. So, yep. That's me. That's what I would do.